Let's have a conversation. Tell me what you think about the issues of the world. What kind of spice you wanna be? Tell me where you wanna travel. Do you believe in luxury? What's your hidden passion? What makes you so unique? Conversations with Nicole. Conversations with Nicole. Conversations with Nicole. Conversations with Nicole.
Greetings. Happy Wednesday. I am Nicole Everett, the host of Conversations with Nicole, a talk show based here in Tallahassee focused on connecting the community through conversations. So I have a very special guest with me, but before I bring my guest on, I want to show you a trailer for the movie that my guest has created, and get your feedback, get your input. I don't know if you all have heard of the movie My Music, a love note to caregivers in their dreams, but you're about to get a sneak preview of this wonderful film. So stay tuned, bear with me just one moment, and I will play that video. Hold on.
My name is Kenneth Jones. I'm the director and writer of My Music, the movie, and the owner of J Vision Pictures. My Music is about a 16-year-old girl, Ruth, who's been sent to be a caregiver for her great aunt who has Alzheimer's. While caring for her aunt and giving her medications, cooking, washing, doing all of these chores and going through the challenges of her aunt and the dementia, back in the old garage, she finds some records and she plays the records miraculously, magically. She's in a music world. She's a singer. But then she has to make the choice that most caregivers have to make in terms of respite, or do you sacrifice to care for your loved one? And that's at the heart of the movie in terms of caregiving. So I was inspired to write my music based off of my mother's experiences as a young girl, being one of the caregivers for her grandmother. My grandmother actually going all the way to Pennsylvania to take care of a cousin, and just caregiving throughout my family. I've seen it. I've witnessed it. I've been a part of it. And so the inspiration comes from that, and that how far I feel that we have moved from that, and hopefully can get back to within our families, within our communities.
All right, yes. So, without further ado, welcome Mr. Kenneth Jones.
Hello.
Thank you for being on with me today. I really appreciate it. That trailer is so exciting. It just gets me, intrigued, wanting to see more, hear more about the story. But before we get into the story, you are a local filmmaker. You are an African American entrepreneur of J Vision Pictures,
Yes.
graduate of FSU College of Motion Picture Arts, and also a full tenured professor at the Florida Agricultural and Mechanical University School of Journalism and Graphic Communications. But I want you to tell the folks, who is Kenneth Jones?
Well, I think when you look at my work over the years, over the decades, you see that I am one who really cares about our community. I care about people in the community, whether it's children, whether it's the elderly. I enjoy filmmaking. I enjoy storytelling. And I enjoy just being able to inspire and uplift others through what I've been blessed to be able to do, with all of my skills and talent and my character. And I think, my music is a film that embodies that. It embodies the richness of that, and especially the work that I've done over the years. And hopefully, again, it will inspire people. It will uplift them, and at the same time entertain them, because I do like to entertain also.
Awesome, awesome, awesome. So we are on both Facebook and YouTube Live. So this is an interactive conversation. So we want folks to put their questions and comments in. But as we progress, we'll bring those up on the screen so that people can see them. But talk about this film in terms of what the inspiration was. I mean, I know you talked about being a caregiver, and you've had family members. We've talked about you've had family members who are caregivers, but kind of give the premise behind the film. Expound a little bit more on that.
Yeah, well, the initial inspiration was in our house when I was a little boy. My mother and father them had these old 45 records and old albums. James Brown, Gladys Knight and the Pips, Aretha, all of them. Mm-hmm. And I was always intrigued by them, and they would play them from time to time. But as I got older, I was still intrigued by these records being put away, almost what I call the untouchables. Mm-hmm. Mom would let me look at them, but you just needed to be very careful with them. And me being the person that I am, with quite a bit of imagination, I always have been since I was a little boy, I was like, I wonder what would happen if somehow those records could be magical and could take me into another world. So I went from that to then combining, really wanting to tell a story about what I had known in our family, where young people would take care of older people, sometimes being sent away to take care of them for years. And then I came up with the idea to take both of these inspirations and to put it into a fictionalized story. And at the same time, bring in, of course, the real story of my family members, my grandmother going all the way to Pennsylvania to take care of a cousin, my mom being a young girl, probably about 10 years old, helping to take care of her grandmother who had dementia and so forth. Wow. And from there, I took those threads and started to write and enjoy writing, and the characters came to me, and the words came to me, and the scenes came to me, and thusly, finally got a screenplay written to be able to go on and produce and shoot it.
Gotcha. Now, how long was this movie in the making in terms of when you kind of conceptualized it to now?
Well, seeing that I am a full-time professor. I've been teaching 26 years now. That I write mainly weekends, nights, and summers. And so it takes me about a good 2 to 3 years, usually about 2 years, to get a good solid first draft of a screenplay, which is right at about 70 to 90 pages.
Okay.
To get a shooting draft is probably right at 3 years. What I mean by a shooting draft is something that then, because I'm a director-writer, right? So I produce, I direct, and I write. But the shooting draft is definitely what are going to be the scenes? Is it exterior? Is it interior? Is it raining? Is it not raining? Just all the production design, costuming, really being able to add that to the screenplay, to add what I call the richness, to add the color, to add the flavor, the flavor. And then at that point, you're probably talking about a shoot. This film we shot for 26 days. We shot it on weekends.
Okay.
We shot it on weekends for 26 days. We'll crank it up on like a Thursday night. We'll start shooting on a Thursday night, shoot probably half day on Friday. We shot 14-hour days on Saturday and Sundays.
Whoa.
14, 16-hour days. Oh yeah, we were rolling.
Yeah.
And but still we shot for 26 days. Our first feature that was on Encore Stars, Love and Fate, we shot it in 10 days.
Wow.
Yeah, I never do that. I never do that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I lost like 30 pounds.
I bet. That sounds like suicide right there.
Yes, it's my type of fun.
Okay. Okay. So, you have married these two, the music and the caregiver. So kind of, that it's kind of interesting, and caregivers, I don't think enough is said about, what they do for the
Right.
people that they're caring for. And, I think the subtitle of this, a love note to the caregiver in their dreams. Talk about that a little bit.
Well, definitely. Once I had the two areas, if you wanted to call it themes, music and caregiving, one of the things that was very obvious, of course, is that for all caregivers, they need some type of respite. Hopefully they get some type of respite. They need a break, whether it's being able to go on a walk, for someone to come and sit in their place, and they can just go to dinner for an hour, 2 hours, whatever. And so I was able to creatively use music and the lead character, and I don't want to give away the whole film, but the lead character being able to be involved with music in a major way that she dreamed of as her respite.
Yeah.
As her respite.
Okay.
Now, the other big one, of course, is that as I wrote the film, and at the same time, of course, I'd been researching and doing interviews and everything with caregivers and people that are caring for dementia, with the Alzheimer's Project and so forth, is that for some with dementia, music can trigger the switch back on for them to remember again. It may be for a minute, it may be for 5 minutes, but just being able to hear music sometimes can trigger certain switches back on within our brains.
Now, let me ask you this. Did you know that before starting this project?
I did, yes.
Okay.
Yes. I do quite a bit of research. I do a lot of research, to be honest.
Okay.
Before usually I even start to write a film, definitely while I'm writing it. I'm writing a new movie now. And I've been researching because I have a lead character that's Hispanic. I have another lead character who's Indian. And so I've been researching and studying and looking at the culture and so forth and so on, so that as I write, at least I'm close. And definitely when I do the rewrites, because, although you're writing a screenplay, the screenplay that usually we wind up shooting, like my music, is probably about a 7th draft.
Wow.
This is not a first draft. This is not a second draft. This is not a 3rd draft.
Okay.
And I think that's for any artist, whether you're writing a novel, whatever it is that you're writing, there's the polishing, there's the repolishing, there's the repolish, It could be a piece of clay, but you're going to still mold and mold and mold. And so, yeah.
Yeah. So I have Gina Kinchlow. She's watching with us, and she's been helping out with the project. But she mentions here about caregiving being universal, and that it's important to note that the tradition of sending family members to go live with aging relatives is something interesting in the African American tradition. So did you want to speak to that a little bit?
Well, yes. And one of the reasons for taking the film now, as we've taken it to make it into a community conversation, is we're facing an epidemic in terms of caregiving. Who will care for who? And at the same time, what we see in the film, a 16-year-old being sent to be a caregiver for her great aunt, you just don't see that these days. As a matter of fact, some family members will feel that there's something that's wrong, that there's, and so trying to get back at least to the conversations of who will be, as we look at the number of baby boomers that are retiring, if we look at the number of baby boomers that are now aging, that will need caregiving, whether we're talking family members, whether we're talking bringing in someone private to the home, or we're talking private care, this is now coming to epidemic proportions. And I feel that we have to bring back into the conversation and hopefully some actions, our millennials, our Gen Xers, to be a part of this. It can't be those of us who are in our 50s and 60s only talking about it and engaging in it. It needs to be, some of my students that I teach that are 22, 23, 25, are those that are in their 30s or in their 40s. If not, we are really getting ready to come up on a major challenge. And that was before COVID-19 and the health issues and the additional need for caregiving that we would need as we come out of this pandemic and take the mask off.
Absolutely. Yeah. It seems like there is such a disconnect in some of our families, a lot of our families. I know as we don't necessarily stay as close to home as we once did. A lot of people leave and move away. And so that is, I think, part of the issue. And then we just aren't raising the children like we did, in terms of knowing what to do, how to even take care of themselves necessarily, cooking and cleaning and things of that nature. So I think that's another challenge as well.
Well, we're partnered with AARP, and that's one of the conversations that I'm so happy that they've come on, that they want to have more, because they have, seniors and the elderly, but of course they want to have a greater conversation about millennials and Gen Xers being a part of caregiving, and being in that space. So I think the more we can have those types of partnerships, those type of conversations, whether it's from national organizations or all the way down to, a church or a sorority, a fraternity, a community organization, the better off we're all going to be. Because again, this is growing at epidemic proportions. Caregivers are in the shadows. They're in the house. They're in the living rooms with whoever. But again, we do not have enough support for the caregivers.
Right. So Priscilla Jean Louise is on, and she said she currently cares for her 79-year-old mother and 98-year-old grandmother who both have dementia. And she's proud that her 16-year-old daughter proudly helps her care for them and is using her platform to bring greater appreciation and awareness to youth who care.
And that's what we want to have more of, and to be able to, again, go from just having conversations about it to actually having some actions. And when I say actions, it's whether it's within our own family. So this Thanksgiving, a lot of people are going to get together, right? This Christmas, a lot of people are going to get together. At least bring up the conversation. It could be lightly, but the conversation should at least come up. Definitely with our public officials. We have the midterm elections coming up, whether it's a city commissioner, whether it's a county commissioner, or whoever. What are we doing at the governmental level to try to address this? Yes, we do have senior centers and so forth, but are there some other things? And I will say that one of the things that AARP is trying to do at the national level, the congressional level, is for caregivers to be able to write off those costs that they're spending on their taxes.
Absolutely. So Gina has mentioned that, she's an aging baby boomer, and she'd like to know what the public health crisis will look like in Florida if we're not able to find people to take care of our huge aging population. And that is a very important topic, because it will be a health crisis if we don't have people to take care of them.
And that's a health crisis in the third populous state. And if it's going to be a crisis in Florida, where our budgets and our, we're not Mississippi and Alabama,
right,
in terms of the poverty level. or
Mhm.
Arkansas and Louisiana.
Mm-hmm.
So if it's bad here, it could get that bad here. You just could imagine once you get to these other states where the challenges are already so great. Um, but I do, I'm a glass half full person. I guess the first question you had, who is Kenneth Jones? I'm a glass half full.
Okay.
With that said, I think at least conversations are starting in some way.
Mm-hmm.
But again, it's so easy for them to get lost
Yeah.
amid all the other things and all the other needs.
Mm-hmm.
But again, this is one that is core to families,
Mm-hmm.
communicating with one another, and core to neighbors or whoever your support system is.
Mm-hmm.
This doesn't have to always come from the outside. Whether you have nieces, nephews, sons, daughters, whoever you have, it's just part of that conversation. And at least, again, having the conversations versus what used to be, again, as depicted in the film, where if you had a girl or a boy and there was a family member who did not have a child and they were aging or aged and needed help or whatever, they would send them to do what they call keep house. Keep house is that they go, they cook, they clean, they do everything they can to help that family member.
Right.
And that was just normal at that time to send youth to do that.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that, hopefully, like I said, that we can find some ways. And I know this is a different time. I mean, this is no longer the 1950s, the 1940s, the 60s, or whatever year it is. But at the same time, I know that we can hopefully find some ways to make some good positive impacts for those who need to be cared for, and especially for those who are doing the caring.
Absolutely. Yeah, I think it's important. We've talked about having those conversations are important. But we tend to shy away because maybe it's, kind of morbid. I don't want to be thinking about, someone's health declining. But it's better, I think, to have them on the front end before someone's health starts declining. And now you're emotional as it relates to it. It's sort of like talking about death,
Right.
and so, just conceptually kind of what can be done. Maybe there could be some shared responsibility amongst siblings or amongst nieces and nephews or cousins or family who's like friends who would be willing to come in and do some of that, take on those responsibilities.
And that's another one of the big reasons for even making the movie. And when we came out, we were selected for the Sedona Film Festival. We got some real good, publicity out of it in terms of the film being uplifting and inspiring. As you will see in the movie, it is inspiring and uplifting, although you see the young girl Ruth being challenged as a caregiver. But there's the inspiration and there's an uplifting there that, caregiving can be something very good. It could be something very heartwarming. It could be something that's very wholesome for the caregiver. And we see that in the movie all the way, and I won't give out the ending of the movie, but we see it all the way into the ending of the movie.
Okay.
And I think that's what we need to make sure that we're messaging on to the general public about, that it doesn't have to be morbid. It doesn't have to be a downer. It doesn't have to be. It could be uplifting.
Absolutely. So I got to give a shout out to Gina Kinchlow because she is so lovingly guiding me along. So she wants us to give a shout out to the fabulous soundtrack that's a part of the My Music movie.
Yeah.
And also those who are helping to make this possible. The makeup artists, the hairdressers, the people that are promoting and allow use of their homes to make the movie and so on and so forth. And then her final comment is, movie making brings money to a community. So just talk a little bit about that aspect as well, because part of the reason we're here is to promote the movie,
Right.
which will be shown at the CMX theaters on November 5th, 6th, and 7th, right
Yes.
here in Tallahassee, Florida. So you can actually see the film.
Yes.
And so talk about the movie making aspect.
Okay, yeah, and people can go on to Eventbrite. The tickets on sale there at Eventbrite. But I guess the first part is in terms of, and I thought hard about this when I started to write the movie. And, you know, is this the movie to make right now? Because I knew as I was writing it, I'm writing a lot of music into the movie.
Mm-hmm.
And I know how much it takes effort and money to put music in a movie. But the soundtrack is very good. These are local producers, you know, Angela Lawson, Omega Forbes, and a number of others. And I worked with them and they worked with me for us to produce music that actually was tailored directly to the story. So very good music, very good music.
Mm-hmm.
At the same time, of course, Nia Sissel, the lead actress in the film, a co-lead, she not only acts, but she sings. So it's her actually singing the songs. And that's just, you know, it was just awesome to get the twosome. This is not, you know, someone else singing or whatever else. This is her singing the songs. And the music spans between the 1950s all the way up through really the 90s. And with that, we shot in some real great locations, like the Monticello Opera House. We shot a music scene there. The Quincy Music Theater. We shot in the old warehouse on Gaines Street. We shot music scenes in there.
Mm-hmm.
And people probably don't know about the old Harrison Inn over what used to be off of Stern Street. But yeah, we really, the music is fabulous. The composer, and we also have a composer out of California, Cal Newmaster, who's a graduate of Berklee School of Music in Boston. And then there's the local businesses. I mean, you can't make these movies, these independent films, without businesses allowing you to use their businesses for locations, or in our case, spending the amount of money that we spent for various services, whether it's catering, whether it's lights, you know, just all types of stuff, U-Haul trucks, you name it. And so films impact the local community greatly because of the things that they generate, hotel rooms, and the dollars that they generate in terms of that are being spent. Not to mean, you know, the number of people you employ, or especially flying people in to come here, especially the editor, I had to fly him back and forth, and other people like that. And so, yes, there's that part of the film and the filmmaking process that a lot of people never really notice a lot, that behind the scenes that is tremendous. And we've been able to, again, have just incredible support by the local community, the local colleges, FAMU, FSU, TCC, city government, county government, the police force. I mean, we've used every resource that we could. And it has been great for me because, again, I could not make these movies. This is the third feature that we've produced without that type of support.
Awesome. So we have a question. Someone wants to know, is the soundtrack for sale?
It is not for sale yet. We're trying now to just get past the initial premiere, November 5th, 6th, and 7th, and see where the film goes from there. I would assume that at some point, though, that it will be. The same thing, of course, is that the film itself is going to be out there. I would think somewhere after we finish up the initial screenings. And that's just based off of if we don't get other distribution. But yes, the film will be out there to access the music and the film, without a doubt.
Very good. So
Thank you for that question.
Okay, so talk about the actual premiere on the 5th, 6th, and 7th, and what folks can expect.
Well, the one thing they can expect is to come to a film screening, which is, you don't get to do a lot unless you go to a lot of film festivals like I do, where not only do you watch the movie, but you get to talk with the movie makers or the movie maker, and there's a community conversation about caregiving. So this is going to be, the conversation is going to be about two things. One, making the movie, and any questions that people may have, whether it's screenplay, the writing, the music, the soundtrack, lighting, editing, which, special effects. And then in terms of caregiving itself, I mean, we really want to have that conversation about caregiving via the film. I mean, we see Ruth getting a little bit of respite by being in the music world, but we see a number of other things. We see a community supporter, Courtney, who comes to help Ruth. We see a lot of other things within the film. And so to have those conversations, and therefore we come out of it with not just watching a movie for entertainment, but hopefully audience members will come out of it with a lot more. I mean, that's really the goal, is to come out of it with a lot more than just watching the movie.
Absolutely. Absolutely. All right. Well, so like as you mentioned, folks can go on Eventbrite
Yes.
to purchase their tickets,
Yes.
and there will be a discussion after the film, correct?
After each screening on the 5th, 6th, and 7th, I think we screen on the 5th and 6th at 7 p.m. It's a night screening. It's a nice movie. The cost is not much on Eventbrite. And then that Sunday, our screening is at 1:30.
Okay.
Because we wanted to put it, intentionally, we wanted to put it so that those that may go to church and want to take in a movie afterwards and get a bag of popcorn.
Okay, very good.
Get a bag of popcorn, yeah.
Yes. So, who is this movie for? You believe? Who you believe this movie is for?
Well, intentionally, it is made for families. Intentionally, it is made for youth. Intentionally, it's made for easily a PG-13 audience. And more than that, it is made to hopefully help everyone to get a better understanding of where they fall into the caregiving space when that time comes.
Yes.
Whether you're 15 years old, whether you're 55 years old, when that time comes, where will you fall in? And at least to get those thoughts nurtured now. Hopefully the movie will plant those seeds if the seeds are not there. Mm-hmm. And hopefully for all of us, again, like I said, if nothing else, to talk to one another about it, and not just leave that as one of those conversations that we'll deal with it when we deal with it. But, we don't want to talk about that.
All right. Miss A is on. Greetings, Miss A. She said, I look forward to seeing the movie. By the way, looking back, I love the corner store story you told. This could have been in a minority neighborhood.
Yeah, so thank you. So the corner story is I was selected to be, to tell a story that had happened in my life with the Tallahassee Democrat and Gannett papers some years ago.
Yes.
The corner store, it dealt with caregiving because it dealt with a store owner in Tampa, when I stayed in Tampa in '86, who would not let little children come into the store without really harassing them and bullying them after school. And that I had very strong feelings, I would say, about that store owner not caring for those little kids enough and treating them the way that he treated them. Well, I'm the same way about the elderly. I was raised that, if nothing else, you take care of your children, you take care of the elderly.
Yeah.
Those two you take care of. And so the corner store and my music are related. I guess they're cousins in a lot of ways.
All right. They're cousins.
They're cousins.
Very good. Very good. Well, we are getting ready to wrap up, but I wanted you to, first, I'm going to, again, announce November 5th through 7th at the Falls Chase CMX Theater right here in Tallahassee, Florida.
Yes.
My music will be doing a screenplay, and you can get your tickets on Eventbrite.
Yes.
I also, as you can see by the ticker tape, am encouraging folks to follow My Music Indie Film on Facebook. Do it
Please.
right now. Right now. Y'all on Facebook, go do it right now.
Please do.
And support and share this with others that you think will benefit from this film. You know, a lot of you have been on here saying that you're looking forward to viewing, you're looking forward to the conversation and the discussion. So let's keep this conversation going. So I'll give you final words, Mr. Jones.
Well, my final words is, of course, thank you, Nicole, for bringing me on and bringing us on. I mean, it's not just me. There's a team. There's Gina. There's me. There's a big team of us.
Yes.
But, you know, my music is entertaining, it's educational, it's uplifting, and it's inspiring. And I think it would be a benefit to all to come see it. There's something in it for everyone.
All right, very good. You heard it right here from Mr. Jones. Go see My Music, the film, November 5th through 7th. Follow them on Facebook, My Music Indie Film, and go buy your ticket right now. Go buy your ticket. You can do that right now. All right. Thank you all. Continue to support us. You know, we got to support what we want to keep.
Yes.
And, you know, if you want to keep us around, you got to support us. And support is not always financial. It is also liking and subscribing and commenting and passing along the good word about the things that we're doing. So let's continue to do that. All right. We'll see y'all next time. Bye-bye.